So I played and reviewed Concord, so you don't have to. If you've been following my channels, you know that I had played both Concord betas, and in those videos that I made regarding those betas, I said that Concord in general was a good game, but it lacked an identity, quality of life issues, but most importantly, it was a shooter that was tied to a $40 payroll, which could result in a low player count. So with the game finally out, let's get into it. First and foremost, all of the content that was in the beta is essentially what is in the full game. So all of the characters are the same. We have the same 6 game modes. The only additions to the game from the beta come in the extra maps that were missing and the new Galactic Guide mode. Now, starting off with Galactic Guide is nothing more than a lore encyclopedia. It's basically a map that you open up and you go through from planet to planet that goes over the lore of the game. And as you progress through the game and as they add updates to the game, this guide will be expanded upon to help flesh out the story of Concord. Everything else is essentially the same as you expected. Every week we're supposed to get a new vignette to help expand the story. And you have a robust list of challenges and unlocks. You have unlocks that come in the form of account level, of challenges, as well as individual characters and variants. Variants are essentially tied to the crew builder. Variants are basically multiple versions of the same character with a different passive. So for example, Teo level 1 variant is when he does a dodge, he gains increased movement speed. However, variant 2, Teo gains, instead of the movement speed passive when he dodges, he gets extra grenades and smoke grenades, as well as extended magazine, increasing his mag capacity from 25 to 40 rounds. So this is just one example of how the variants work and what the differences are. And we're supposed to be getting a new variant to unlock once per week. And this, of course, expands into the seasonal model. The game has been confirmed to have at least 2 future seasons coming through, with more down the pipeline, but they've only showed us the roadmap for the first 2 seasons. So, which include, of course, things such as new characters, maps, variants, etc. One thing they did say about the game going forward is that the cosmetic shop, which is not in the game currently, will only have cosmetics only and nothing gameplay related. All gameplay related features, maps, modes, characters will be free for all players. So overall, when you look at the face of it, Concord has a very good, compelling package. It's a fun game. It's a well put together game. Very polished. A lot of the quality of life issues that we had in the betas have been addressed, such as lever penalties and backfilling. So the developers are on the case with making the game better than what it already is. Now, as for the game itself, you may have noticed through the footage that the game is slower in pace with a longer time to kill. You have to think of it as like Destiny PvP, but as a hero shooter form. And that's basically how it is. If you play Destiny PvP, you're probably going to enjoy this game. If you have and you didn't like it, you're not going to like this game. If you're a fan of fast-paced, high-octane Twitch shooters like Call of Duty and X-Defiant, I'm here to tell you, you're not going to like this game. The audience for this type of game, which is slow and methodical in pace, is very selective, and not everybody's going to enjoy the gameplay loop. But if you do enjoy this type of gameplay, it is a real fun game. It is a good-looking game. While you may not like the art style, you can't deny that visually, on a technological level, this game is amazing. Audio's good, the guns feel good to shoot, the controls are good. It's a very much a polished experience worthy of a $40 price tag. That being said, the last thing I want to touch on before I get onto the negatives is the crew builder. As I said earlier, we have variants. Now the crew builder, it doesn't really do much for the casual respawn modes, because if you want to one-trick your favorite character, by all means. The real benefit comes in the competitive mode where there is no respawns, and where when you win a round, you lose access to the character that you were using for that round. So having multiple variants of your main character could go a long way in your crew builder, because for me, like, I'm a Hamar main, I would want as many variants for Hamar as possible, so that while I'm going through the crew builder, I could play Hamar multiple times in the same match, despite winning the rounds, because I have Hamar, multiple variants of her. Now, let's get on to the elephant in the room. As I said in my second beta video, this game is expected to not last long because of the disinterest. At the time of making this video, Steam does not record early access player counts, so I do not know how the numbers are on Steam officially. But on the beta, when you had an open beta, free for everyone, they capped out at about 2,400 players. Safe to say that not all 2,400 are going to buy the game, so that number is likely to be reduced. I said in that same video that I wouldn't recommend buying this game on PC, but on PlayStation you could be alright due to how much faster queue times are. Well, safe to say that so far it seems that I was right on that count, because I play the game on PlayStation, I have crossplay turned on, and I'm finding matches very, very quickly. Right? The only exception is the competitive game mode, but that requires you to be level 6. And since, as time of this review, only the early access version of the game was available, so not everybody has access to the game, nor did everybody get to level 6, so the queue times were a little bit longer for that mode. But for the casual game modes, I was able to find matches relatively quickly. It wasn't that bad, and when I checked the lobby, most of the players are on PlayStation as expected. I would find maybe 1, 2, 3 PC players, but the brunt of it is always, 4 to 5 PlayStation players, usually every single round. So it goes to show you that if you're going to buy this game, PlayStation is the way to go, that the PC player count is probably low. And of course, this is tied to that $40 price point, the elephant in the room. The one thing that's going to hold Concord back is this price point. Despite Concord being a very good game, in my opinion, I have a lot of fun with it personally. It doesn't change the fact that the $40 price tag is really what's going to hurt this game. On top of that, the game lacks originality. It doesn't stand out. I recently played Spectre Divide, and that had a fresh take on the tac shooter genre with controlling 2 bodies. It felt new. It felt fresh. It felt different. It had an identity. This game doesn't have an identity in that way. It just feels like a Guardians of the Galaxy PvP shooter that's generic and tied behind a $40 price point. If this game was free to play, I think this game would have legs. But because it's currently tied to a $40 price point, I don't know how long the players are going to stick with this game. I really don't. I feel like first that free to play is inevitable for this game at some point. I don't know how they would reimburse the people who paid for it, but I imagine that it'll go free to play at some point, because if it does, it's going to have a hard time. So, like I said, I personally enjoy this game. If this was 2016, 2018, or if the genre of first-person shooters wasn't overly saturated, I would say by all means, pick this game up. It's a blast to play. But when you have such an abundance of shooters available to you for free, it makes it hard to justify the $40 price point. Not saying this game is not worth $40. I'm a firm believer that this game is worth $40. It's just that the industry has changed to a point where we have so many options that how do I go to a friend of mine and say, hey, spend $40 on this game when I can just download another game and we can play it together for free? It is really, really hard. And because this game lacks something of a niche to distinguish itself from the competition, it's a very hard sell, despite the fact that it's a good product. So overall, I'm going to give Concord a 6 out of 10 as a package. As a video game standalone by itself, 8 out of 10. If you like it, you're going to enjoy it. 8 out of 10 is as a product to itself. But given the landscape of the industry, I can't in good faith recommend this game to anyone other than someone who has tried it and really, really liked it. And until you try it for yourself and know for sure, I wouldn't recommend paying for this when there's so many free-to-play options. So overall, Concord for me is a 6 out of 10 as a product to purchase, but as a standalone game with no competition, it would have been an 8 out of 10. This is Veteran Gamer, and I hope to see you guys next time.